enter the kingdom of God. You know what Jesus is teaching? Mark this down, guys. Write this down if you take notes. Jesus is teaching that we aren't the example for salvation. Children are.
Amen.
He said, unless you are converted like what? Little children. Guys, again, a little child's faith is so much stronger than ours. And again, we got to reach children while they're children and get the truth of God's Word into them as soon as we can. Guys, VBS, again, not just our church, but every church that does VBS should be the biggest event that the church does every single year.
Amen.
Why? Because, guys, we're going to have 100 plus kids here in this coming week. 100 different kids that are going to hear the name of Jesus. Now listen, when I started preparing this sermon, I said, I know there's going to be people that disagree with me, and that's fine. Like I've told you guys before, it's okay that you're wrong. I've got the Word of God that tells me what's right. You want to come to me with your opinions, I'll come back with the Word of God, and we'll just agree to disagree and go on your merry way. I just believe kids can be saved. And I believe that biblically. I don't believe that because it's my opinion. I believe biblically. And again, I believe Jesus taught it more than once. Verse number 6 in Matthew 18. Listen to what Jesus said. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me. Anybody want to question that? If you got a red letter Bible, that's Jesus' words. They believe in me. He said, it were better for a millstone were hanged around his neck and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Is that pretty clear? You know what Jesus is saying? Don't offend children. Especially those that believe in me. You know what that is, guys? That's conversion. That's converting. That's getting saved. That's what that is. And then Matthew chapter 19, verses 13 to 14. Then they were brought unto the little children. They brought little children on them. He put his hands on them, for him to put his hands on them to pray. The disciples rebuked them. But Jesus said, suffer little children, forbid them not to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. And guys, many times we fail to realize how important children and youth are, not just to this church, but to the kingdom of God.
Amen.
They're important. Guys, listen. Again, write this down. They are just as important to the kingdom of God as we are. You say, well, Pastor, I need proof today. Okay, I'm glad you want proof. Because 1 Samuel chapter 2. And again, guys, I want you to understand today that children's ministry is important. Children are important. And again, from God's Word, that, again, the importance of us reaching children. So again, I got two thoughts I want to share with you this morning. And the first one is this, guys. Why is children's ministry so important? Is this. God uses children. He does. He uses children. And again, me and Veronica's part of that. You know, you guys have heard my story about the bus captain and his wife coming over and inviting my girls. You know, don't you just love church people that will use your kids against you? Hey, how about you let little Johnny and Susie ride the church bus tomorrow with them sitting right there? What kid doesn't want to ride a bus? Right? And then, oh, by the way, if you and your wife ain't got nothing to do tomorrow, how about you guys come to church? But again, we are a product of the fact that, you know what, our kids wanted to ride the church bus and start going to church. And as a result of that, guess what? We went that very next Sunday, Monday night, give our life to Christ, and our life's never been the same. Guys, again, God uses children. And again, here's another misteaching, guys, and it breaks my heart to see so many churches that are doing away with children's ministry. Because here's the mentality. Well, they don't tithe and they don't do all this. Now listen to me. If that's our mentality as a church, we might as well shut our doors. If all we're focused on is whether or not people are tithing, Guys, I might as well get up here and start preaching the prosperity gospel. Now, they may not tithe, but you know what? If you get them young enough and start teaching them young enough about the importance of tithing, guess what they're going to start doing when they get a job? Tithing. Oh, and there are some other people that will tithe, and it's called mom and dad. So if we reach Junior, Johnny and Susie, guess who will come with them eventually? Mom and dad. And so again, guys, it's so important for us to understand the importance of children. And again, if they are important to Christ, should they not be important to us? Now, look at 1 Samuel chapter. I want to look at verse number 2 first. And again, most of the time we'll spend on verse number 3. Now, go to verse number 12 with me first. It says, now the sons of Eli were sons of what? Belial. They knew not the Lord. Verse 17, wherefore the sin of the young men was very great before the Lord, for men abhorred the offering of the Lord. Now, look at verse number 18. But Samuel ministered to the Lord, being a what? Everybody say it. Child. He ministered unto the Lord, being a child, girded with a linen ephod. Then go to verse number 22. Eli was very old, heard all his sons did unto Israel, how they lay with the women, assembled at all the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Then verse number 25, if one man sin against another, the judge shall judge him. But if a man sin against the Lord, who shall entreat for him? Notwithstanding, they, talking about the sons, hearkened not unto the voice of their father, because the Lord would slay them. Verse 26, and the child who? Samuel grew on, was in favor both with the Lord and with men. As a child. Listen to me, guys. God uses children. You might know who King Josiah is. Anybody want to tell me how old King Josiah was when he took reign? 8 years old. 8. How many 8-year-old kings have you ever met? As a matter of fact, there was one even younger than him, called Joash. He was 7. Now listen to me, guys. Do you not think for 1 second that God can use children? He used Josiah at the young age of 8. And I love what the Bible says, 2 Kings 22, 1 and 2. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign. He reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. Listen to me. Why do you think he did right in the sight of the Lord for 31 years? Listen to me, guys. Because it started as a child. Before his sin took over his life, before his heart became so dark and callous by living a life of sin, it started as a child. And guys, again, we are raising a generation of non-believers. Why? Because we are getting away from the importance of kids and youth. And moms and dads, listen to me. Hear me. It's not just the church's responsibility. Amen. Number one, it's our responsibility first to bring up our children the right way. The sooner you start them, the better your chances are. Now, is there a guarantee? No. But your chances are so much better when you start them young. Josiah was 8, greatly used of God. You want to hear what Josiah did during his time as king? He raised the money to repair the temple. During the repairs, the high priest Hilkiah found the book of the law. He called for a time of national repentance. He brought reformation to wicked Israel. And he restored the observance of the Passover. Do you think God used him? Let me share another story. John chapter 6. There's a little boy had a lunch. Right? And again, you read that story, guys. What were the disciples all focused on? Where are we going to get all this food? Right? Where are we going to get it? Where are we going to get it? Where are we going to get it? And then Andrew Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said, hey, wait, hold on. There's a little boy over here who's got a lunch. He wasn't focused about where we're going to give food and this, that, and the other because his heart was so tender, right? You know what he did? He said, here, Jesus. You can take this. And this is what's so good about that, guys. Even after he did that, what did the disciples do? They questioned it. What is this among so many? You know what Jesus said? Sit down and let me show you. You want to see? And again, guys, because you know what a questioning faith does? It questions the resources, the minimal resources. It trusts in ourselves. But guys, again, an unwavering faith, you know what it does, guys? It doesn't focus on the minimal resources. It focuses on the great God. Amen. It focuses on what God can do with some loaves and some fish. And God took a little boy's lunch and fed 20+ thousand people with it. And had leftovers. Do you think God uses children? Guys, how about King David? And again, you know, King David shows up to the battle, and every time, you know, big dude Goliath shows up, 9 foot, all 9 foot tall of him, and starts running smack and saying he's going to, you know, destroy somebody. And the Bible says every time he did that, what did the children of Israel do? They tucked their tails between their legs and ran. David shows up, the youngest of Jesse's boys. Right? Young and ruddy, as the Bible calls him. He wasn't a stud athlete. He wasn't all this, guys. He was tending sheep. Right? And again, so he shows up on the scene. He sees this Goliath. He sees this 9 foot plus guy, and he sees the response every time he comes out, and he watches his brothers and everybody else just take off running. And he's like, time out. Something's wrong here. Listen, you guys are allowing this uncircumcised Philistine to deny not just our country, but our nation, but you're allowing him to defy God. And then he goes to Saul. And basically, and I'm paraphrasing, he says to Saul, listen, don't worry about anything. Listen, your servant will take care of the giant. And what did Saul say to David? And what does the church say to some kid when they come up and say, listen, your servant will, God, listen, I want to serve you. Here's what Saul said. You're too young. But if you want to do it, go ahead, right? And you all know the results, right? Saul even finally said, you know what, listen, here, you take this armor. And no, I don't need it. Number one, I've got God. And that's all I need. Amen. But just in case, you know, I'll take my sling because I like my sling. And I'm going to grab me a few stones on the way too, and you know, just in case some brothers show up or somebody else shows up, and because I'm only going to need one for Goliath. Right? And what happens? What's the end of the story? Right between his eyes. Amen? Listen to me, guys. God uses children. Amen. Not just uses them in a small way, guys. Uses them to do great and mighty things. God wants to use our children. And guys, again, it's time for the church to realize the importance of kids in the church and say, you know what, we need to do a better job of ministering to our kids. Amen. And here's what I love, guys, and again, don't take this personal. But some of you will say, well, I'm not called to work with kids. And again, biblically, we can say, you know, the Bible tells us in Titus that the older are to teach the younger. To me, that's not a suggestion. To me, that's God's Word telling us that we have a mandate, we have a responsibility as a church for the older. And by the way, there's a lot of older here today. Right? Now listen, if you're going to strangle kids, I don't want you back there. I hope you know what I'm saying, guys. But here's what we should be doing, and hear me out. We should at least be praying about it and asking God, if you want me to work with kids, I'll work with kids. But here's where some of you are. You've just completely ruled it out. You completely ruled it out. And you know why, guys? Because we have forgotten how important children are to God. Because here's what we look at them as. They're a nuisance. You know, I don't like them running around the church, guys. I love, and again, this is part of our teaching, is when you see them running around, take a moment to teach them, hey, to respect God's house and to not run around. I love hearing babies cry in church. Some of y'all get frustrated with that. I love seeing boys after church service crawling under the pews. It's not as cute when Chris Proschel does it, but when somebody... You know what I'm saying. It loses its cuteness after a while. But guys, again, my heart is this, guys, is that we've got to do a better job. And it starts with VBS. And I'm going to share this, guys, because again, I think our church needs to know this. We've had somebody quit serving back at Kingdom Kids. Why? You know why? Because we've got too many kids. And they can't handle it by themselves. Somebody say, well, too many kids is a problem. To who? That's not a problem. The problem is the laborers are few. That's the problem. The problem is not too many kids. The problem is too few resources. That's why I want to have this children's ministry luncheon. It's because, guys, again, it's just time for us to realize again how important it is. And I hope and pray that as you see the Word of God today, you see how God uses kids. He uses children. By the way, He wants to use children. And it's part of our responsibility to train them and to teach them the importance of being used by God. So number one, God uses children. And then number two, guys, and get this, we adults can learn from children. How many of y'all believe that? Amen. How many of you have ever been taught something by your kids? Amen. Just about life. And again, guys, when you look at this passage of Scripture, guys, I love 1 Samuel chapter 3. And look at verse number 1. I love this. The child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli. And the word of the Lord was precious in those days. There was no open vision. And it came to pass at that time when Eli was laid down in his place, his eyes began to wax dim, that he could not see. So he's becoming older. The lamp of God went out in the temple of the Lord where the ark was, and Samuel was laid down to sleep. That the Lord called Samuel, listen to me, grown-ups. The Lord called Samuel, and what was Samuel's response? Lord, here am I. Now, let me give you a grown-up's response. Y'all ready? How many of y'all are familiar with the story of Jonah? He was a grown man. Hey, Jonah, I need you to go to Nineveh and tell those wicked people about me. He didn't say, here am I. He gets on a boat and hightails it the opposite direction. Guys, we can learn so much from children. Listen, if God asks children to do something, you know what they're going to do? They're just going to do it for the most part, not all the time. And again, because their hearts haven't become so callous with sin, and again, guys, they don't make excuses. A child won't say, God, I will do it if I've got time for it. A child won't say, if I'm not busy on Sunday. A child won't say, well, you know what, and listen, I am so proud of my daughter, McKenna. And again, she loves playing volleyball, but McKenna does not want to play volleyball on Sunday. She wants to be at church. That makes a parent proud. Not a pastor, a parent. A child won't argue with God. Listen, I want you to serve in this children's... Well, Lord, listen, you know I don't really like kids, even though I've had 7 of them. Right? Is there a more foolish statement? You don't like kids, but you got 7? 8, 10, 12, however many you got? And guys, again, when we make statements like that, here's what we say. They're not important. How many do you think our senior saints are important? Yes. Say yes. They're very important. You know what our senior saints have done for 40, 50, 60 plus years? Spent time with kids. I love hearing the story of David Toole. David Toole gave his life to Christ. Been in his church for over 50 years. Gave his life to Christ, got baptized last Mother's Day. And he come to me one day with tears in his eyes, talking about Miss Lula being his Sunday school teacher. And I can I just say this? I promise you, if Miss Lula was as healthy as she used to be, she would still be teaching Sunday school. You guys want to know where Miss Betty is at 9:30 on Sunday mornings? Teaching kids. Helping with Mark Blair's class. You know why? How old are you, Miss Betty? Never mind. I forgot. You're never supposed to ask a woman how old she is. Sorry. She's years old. Miss Betty, do you think children are still important? How many years you been here, Miss Betty? 42. So she's 43 now. That gives you her age. She's 43. Don't argue with me about it. They're important. And guys, if she didn't think it was still important, guys, she wouldn't be doing it. She doesn't do, and I can promise you this, and I may be speaking out of turn, but I'm speaking on behalf of Betty. She's not doing it because there's a need to be filled. She's doing it because she still enjoys doing it. Guys, there is, to me, can I just say this? Like I'm asking you permission to say something. There's no greater joy than teaching kids. Guys, I had the awesome privilege last Wednesday night to take a break from our adult class and go teach kids. When I left there that night, for just a split second, I missed children's ministry. I missed being a children's pastor. And here's why I missed it more than anything. I'm like, man, those kids listened. Some of you got that real quick. Some of you are going to get mad at me later when you figure it out. Then my phone's going to start, well, Pastor, you say I don't listen? Then I'm going to ask you to give me 3 things I said in my sermon today, and that'll give you my answer. But they listen. Guys, again, because our kids are hungry for truth. You may not think it, and again, you may get frustrated when you're teaching because you're like, man, they're not getting it, they're not getting it, they're not getting it. And then you get a phone call from their mom or their dad and say, man, listen, you won't believe what little Johnny just told me. Guys, you know what my favorite part of last Sunday's service was? After service. I had 2 kids come up to me and ask me about being saved last Sunday. And I didn't say, oh, you know what, you're too young. You know why they're asking? Because they truly want to know. What must I do to be saved? They're not asking that because they're looking for information. Guys, they truly want to know, what do I need to do to have a relationship with Jesus Christ? They understand, listen, I want to be saved because I don't want to go to that terrible place called hell. How can I be delivered from that? And church, shame on us if we forbid them from coming. They are the example, not us. Guys, we can learn so much from kids. I love what D.L. Moody said. D.L. Moody he preached and at some event, and somebody asked him, how many converts did you have last night? And he said, 2.5. And so what do you think the first thing the person asked him was? 2 adults and 1 kid? He said, no, the complete opposite. 2 children and 1 adult. He said, because when a child gets saved, their whole life is saved. You know what that means, guys? The sooner they get saved, the better their chances are in surviving in this world. So do you think the gospel of Christ is important to kids?
Amen.
Do you think it's important for the children to know that the church puts an emphasis on reaching them? Can I just ask you this? Does Jesus love children less than he loves us? No. Right? Guys, again, you look at Eli's life and you look at his 2 sons, and the Bible says they were sons of Belial. And then you look at Samuel and you look at the difference between Hophni and Phinehas, and you look at Samuel. Big difference. Because again, guys, Samuel was taught as a child. And I love the fact, guys, that when it says that he grew, that he had favor not just with the Lord, but he had favor with men as well. Let me read you another verse, guys, about Josiah. It's found in 2 Kings 23. And I love this, guys, and I should have read it earlier. Here's what the Bible says about Josiah. 2 Kings 23:25. It says, and like unto him, talking about Josiah, was there no king before him that turned to the Lord with all his heart and with all his soul and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses. But it doesn't stop there. Neither after him arose there any like him. How old was Josiah again? 8. He started at the age of 8, and the Bible clearly tells us that before him there was nobody like him, and after him there was nobody like him. Guys, God uses children. God can save children, and God wants us to learn from children. Children are invited to Jesus. Again, children show us how to receive the kingdom. They respond to Jesus. And by the way, guys, let me just say this. Children are totally dependent for the most part. And again, if you're a parent today, you know what frustrates you or breaks your heart is when your children start being independent. They no longer rely on you. Now again, our part of our responsibility as a parent is to raise them up to be self-dependent. But it still breaks your heart when they become independent. You're like, you don't depend on me anymore. But you know what, guys? Children are very dependent. Guys, chances diminish greatly after the age of 18. When you become 18 years of age and you've not heard the gospel or you've never given your life to Christ, it becomes more and more and more difficult for you to receive Christ. You say, why do you have a nursery? To share the good news of Jesus Christ. Why do you have Kingdom Kids? To share the good news of Jesus Christ. Why do we have a Wednesday night children's program? To share the good news of Jesus Christ. Why are we doing VBS? To share the good news of Jesus Christ. Amen. Why do we have Sunday school teachers for kids? To share the good news of Jesus Christ. Amen. That's why we have children's ministries. It's because we want boys and girls to know who Jesus is. Close with this, guys. Because I want to encourage you that are already serving. I want to encourage you this morning that your labor is not in vain. I want to encourage you this morning that, we will fail as a church to pat you on your back at times, and we don't mean that. But again, from the bottom of your pastor's heart, thank you for every single person who works in our children's ministry. There's nothing that blesses me and Veronica's heart more than when Stella or McKenna or even our two older boys, when they come home and they talk about what they learned in church. But Matthew chapter 10, guys, verse 42, Jesus said this, "Whosoever shall give drink unto one of these little ones a cup of cold water, only in the name of a disciple." I love this. He says, "Verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward." Can I tell you what that says, guys? Listen, we may not be rewarded this side of eternity. You may not get noticed by the pastor or the children's ministry directors. But you know who does notice? Jesus. And you know what the most important person to be noticed by is Jesus. Jesus never sees anything that you do with children as anything that's detrimental or anything that's, listen, he looks at that as, you know what, listen, they're serving me by serving them. You give them a cold cup of water in my name, listen, you're serving me. But guys, don't buy into the lie, and as Jesus rebuked his disciples, to suffer not the little children to come unto him, for such is the kingdom of God. They're important to Jesus. And if they're important to him, they should be important to us. And the last time I checked is this. Jesus even had a child come up and sit in his lap, and he ministered to him. You know what's so unfortunate in the time that we live in today? We can't hug kids anymore the way we used to, because we're afraid of lawsuits, we're afraid of this, we're afraid of that. We're buying into, again, what the culture is trying to dictate how we do children's ministry. You can't do this and you can't do that, when it's completely contrary to what the Bible teaches. BBS, guys. We got 5 nights, 6 to 9, starting tonight. God has given us a great, great, great opportunity. We can't let it go by. This may be the only chance that we get with these kids. We may get them for the next 5 nights. Listen, most of these kids will only get 1 or 2 nights. So you know what that tells me? We've got to take even bigger advantage of the opportunity that God gives us. So VBS teachers in your classrooms, give them Jesus. Music leader, give them Jesus. When they're back there in the kitchen eating tonight, give them Jesus. Because here's what, and I'm going to close with this, guys. Praise team, make your way up.